Hello, my name is FRANCESFOX, and I'm a trained remote viewer. All my psychic skills have been trained and honed and perfected, watched, documented, understood statistically in terms of my accuracy. I have had a very difficult time since I came out of what you would call seclusion, hiding. I was in a secret program, not my choice. I was placed in there since I was born. I got out of there because I couldn't take it anymore. And the abuse was costing me, having to do with my health and my happiness. Um, I chose all of this before I incarnated because that was the place in the US military on planet Earth where I would be able to learn the most, having to do with my mission, which is give extra information from the other dimensions so that perhaps we can have a life that has less anguish. By the way, that is the definition of a Buddha. So if one of your goals in life is to try to diminish human anguish, whether it's in a particular group or a large group or a country, then you are classified as a Buddha. Isn't that interesting? Today, I have some very interesting and very good news. Maybe some of you won't think it's that big a deal, but I would like to show you some sketches. And my reference point for what it is that I'm telling you now is a map that NASA shared on their there's a newsletter that comes out called spaceweather.com. Excuse me a second while I get it up. I thought it was already up here. Okay. NASA shared a map, and I'm going to put it up and I'm going to read what the map says. And then I'm going to show you what we have been mapping here, because we, in this chat, 7 o'clock at night, on several platforms, the most important one, which I consider would be X, we have documented this process before it happened. Here's the map. And now let me read what it is that this is about. For that, I need to find it. Here we go. From NASA. Rocks and soil electrified by the superstorm that was across the United States on May 10th to 11th. There was a marvelous display of aurora borealis during the biggest electromagnetic storm in decades, but something else was going on. Strong electrical currents were surging through rocks and soil. The biggest voltage along the U.S. eastern seaboard and in the Midwest were as much as 10,000 times normal electrification. A map from NOAA and the U.S. Geological Survey shows some of the hot spots during the early morning hours of May the 11th. So what are we talking about here? Look at this. This is also a map of what's going to be the zombie invasion, because the map is showing where there was too much electricity, which means too much of the fire element, which means we have too much of the energy of the food of what we call the spirits that we refer to as the devil. Fire is the food of the devil. So, how interesting. But what does it have to do with our chats? Well, on our chats, I sketched every day. And this is what I sketched on the 18th of April. This is Earth underneath. And let's keep going. I'm going to show you several. This is also the 18th, which we have ETs. We have spaceships coming in, plus the Earth is still green. This is good. 18th of April. This is May 14th. Those solar flares that electrified the soil and stones 10,000 1,000 times more than normal. After that, those were on the 10th and 11th. This is the 14th. Look, we no longer have this. Green underneath us, we have this. The X's are curses and the red is fire. That's on the 14th. Here's the 15th. Here's the 17th. We got even more. We have more spaceships. Here's the 20th. We never got back to the green. And this is the 20th also. This is fire. The X's are curses. And I don't know what this line is, but earth energy is above it. Ascension is lifting up. And this is the 21st. This, I don't know what that interrupted line is. And then we have this interrupted line here. I don't know what that is. So basically we have sketch. Oh, and this is the 23rd, which would have been yesterday. The fire is almost like reaching up. We are here encapsulated in 3 different bags. And then we have this. It is almost as if we were in utero and we're going to go through the birth canal and have a rebirth. What does that mean? I don't have all the answers, but definitely we are in the ascension process. Definitely the ascension is going to pull us away from what is called the electrification of Earth. And what is that all about? And I'm sorry if this is boring to anybody, but today I spoke with a Christian, somebody who was doing something in my home. And I asked her what the Bible said about the element fire. She said, well, in the end, the elements are supposed to be totally out of control, devastated. I don't remember the exact word, but I will get it and I will put it on my social media. So even in the Bible, they say that at the end, the elements are not going to be balanced. What does that have to do with you? Well, again, for the 50th time, you cannot have insomnia, anxiety, hatred, impatience, emotional violence, physical violence, murder, and suicide unless you have an excess of the fire element. And if you have too great an excess of the fire element, you're going to have a lot of the extreme of that, which is suicides, murders, physical violence. And that's what we're having today. But it appears that some of us, at least, are being lifted up and away from that fire. Who makes this decision? Your frequency, your vibration makes the decision as to where you are going to be. What does that mean? That means that if you are outside a lot, have understood the whole concept of the element of fire and have understood the concept that you need to balance the elements, so you make sure that you spend enough time in nature and you're not too long locked in rooms that are all radiating electronic devices which radiate fire, that you are living a balanced life. Now, if you didn't know about the elements, it's a little bit difficult for you to do that, which is where we're at today. All the medicines in the planet, except for modern medicine, the core basic contention is that health is a balance of the elements. Modern medicine, which is only 500 years old, not 5,000 years old like Ayurveda, or 2,000 years old like Chinese medicine, does not even know what the elements are. They cannot help you with that. But it's as simple as looking at your day and going, okay, so where are we going to have dinner? Why don't you have dinner outside? Get a restaurant where you can sit outside. Where are we going to go to vacation? Maybe don't go to a big city. Maybe go to the beach, to the mountains. And if you think back, you will remember that when you came back from natural vacations, you felt better. You were happier. Your body felt better, and you had more sex, which is important when you're in the age range in which you're supposed to be having sex. It's important. I have seen so many people and kids that have gone to places like Disney. Oh, it's great. You ask them, they go on the weekend, they come back, and on Wednesday you ask them what they did over the weekend, and they won't remember. How could you not remember? You were dying to go to Disney. You went to Disney. How could you not remember? Oh yeah. We were at Disney. We had a great time. You didn't even remember it. By the way, electricity wipes out memory. That's what electroshock is. And that's what we're doing ourselves with our electronic devices. So the bad news is that we are going to have big problems because our soil, Earth, in the United States was electrified by 10,000 times. You can look it up in spaceweather.com. Now, how interesting, Florida's looking pretty good. And yet it really, you would think, oh, that has to do with water. I don't know, because the East Coast doesn't look good. Half of Texas looks good, and the other half looks really bad. As a matter of fact, one of the hottest places is kind of in central Texas. I don't know the Texas map, but I do know that we mapped it and Texas was cursed. And there was a huge, not friendly spaceship on top of it. So when there's too much fire, the protective energy field that God gave us, it's a frequency that is electric, gets burned, and then you don't have any protection. So this map can be called also a map to zombies, because that extra fire, fire is the food of the devil. And the devil type spirits, because there's different types of spirits, are the ones that turn human physical bodies into zombies, because the spirit that's inserted is that type of a spirit. I came to the conclusion today, probably for the 50th time, that if you were the type of person that if your kids said that they were scared to go to sleep because something was coming out from under the bed, behind the door, or from the closet, and you said that's not true, you just don't want to sleep, or just go ahead, let's get you some warm milk or whatever and go back to sleep, you are really going to struggle with the whole ET thing, with the whole zombie thing. It's a baseline piece of knowledge on planet Earth that spirits exist. Jesus Christ removed spirits when he went to heal people. Shamanism is about two things: spirits and the elements. Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine deal with both things. They won't admit it today because modern people that have money don't know anything about that. And the funny story, which is really, now that you think about it, pathetic, when I was living with an Ayurvedic physician many years ago, and he recommended that I get a painting of a beach scene and put it in my living room, I thought he was recommending a piece of decor so that my living room would look better. No, he was recommending that I get more water in my life and that I could get it from the transference from a painting or a picture. He didn't explain that part of it. I don't know if he was used to people just simply obeying and they didn't need to know. I have a desire to know, and I didn't think that he had better decorating skills than I did, because I could see what his bedroom looked like. Lack of knowledge. The Buddha said that the basis for human misery is ignorance, and that is 100% the case. So here is where we are at, or where we were at 2 days ago, or yesterday, not sure. I think we're getting ready to enter a birth canal for a rebirth. I'm only saying this because of what I'm sketching. But it's also what people have been saying that know a lot more than I do about the process that our soul and everything is going through. I believe this used to be triangular. It didn't have this, and now this is open at the top. And we also changed the music when I did this sketch. Instead of doing the trilling music that's so elegant, I felt it might be important to get more grounded. So I put the music that's called El Poder de los Mantristas, which means the power of the Mantristas, which is the movement that has developed with around all of this information. And then the people were releasing a black snake, a spirit that was around the spinal cord. And this is releasing of the fire element. None of the lower chakra mind streams are there. So when we go through the birthing process, we're not going to have as much of a connection to the physical. Are we just going to be spirit? What happens to my business? What happens to the book I haven't published? I don't know. It might be a little bit disappointing, but I suspect that somehow or other, all of that we have done on the physical is not going to be a waste or in vain. I don't know what it looks like, and I made it a decision not to kind of look too much into the future, but to work on unblocking us so that we can get there more effectively, so that we can achieve our intentions. So they're talking a lot on X about how sound is a frequency and it heals incredibly. And I have been giving you my Fox sensory therapy sound river. I'm changing the name because people are now wrapping themselves around the fact that sound heals, and they're not aware that images heal, such as what the Ayurvedic physician recommended for me. His name, by the way, was Dr. Akhilesh Sharma. So I'm changing it to Fox sound therapy, simple, to the point, so that people can get it. And then I'll go, oh, you're also getting image therapy. Spoon feeding? Okay, if that's what I have to do, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to show you now, again, we did it yesterday, but now with all this extra information, I'm going to show you again what sound therapy does, what we give you here, having to do with world peace, but it's not really world peace, it's simply peace and a purification of hatred. We're going to go back and we're going to do it again. So here we go. This was an experiment months ago. This is a person very depressed. Those are her mind streams hanging, very depressed. She was not doing a mantra. There was no music therapy. See, I have sensory therapy there. No, we have to put music therapy to make it really simple. Okay, then this entire experiment took 7 minutes. Then I went ahead and asked her to do the mantra for depression, which is, even though I'm depressed, I love and accept myself. No therapy, no music, no sound therapy. Okay, and look, her mind streams that were here, look how they got. This is wonderful. Then we went ahead and moved ahead 2 or 3 minutes later. I gave her the mantra for peace. Please, God, help me with my intention that there be a miraculous solution to the peace and fear. No sound therapy, just the mantra. Look how nice. She's got chi particles that pop up. The mind streams are not depressed. This is very good. But look what happens when we add sound therapy. There is a protection around the mind stream. See the green line? Creating a canopy. That bad spirit in the upper right cannot enter. The throat chakra starts to release Nile green mind streams. Something that was stuck in the throat started to release. Now, she was doing the trilling music therapy. Cancel the word sensory. It's accurate, but it doesn't work. Trilling music therapy. And look at that. In less than 7. And she didn't do 7 minutes of the therapy because until this point, she hadn't done any music therapy. She was doing a mantra or nothing at all. So if you don't have sounds that heal and purify in your spaces, your business, your home, you're being very silly. Because it's not just me that's saying it. And it's not just this as proof. It's like all over the internet now. Scientists are saying that sound heals. Several years ago, somebody, I don't remember what the question was that they asked them, and the song Despacito, which is from a Puerto Rican singer, I don't remember his name, was really big. So I said, look, why don't you go ahead and put the music, that music on, and have one of your producers stand in front of me, and I will look and see how that music affects them internally. The reason I chose Despacito is because I think at that point it was the most heard song in the history of the world. So they did that. And I have it on video, and I'm going to put it up again on Facebook and maybe here. But really, it's basically me crying. So the music comes on, the song, and the person is standing in front of me. And I could see his heart chakra energy center was opening, and he was crying. And I said, this song opens the heart chakra, and it helps people to release stuff. And I said to the producer, you miss your mother? Is she not here? And he said, she's in my country. I haven't seen her for a while, and I really love her. But listening to Despacito was opening up something that was closed because of his emotional pain. And he was releasing that, not just through the tears, but through emotions. So you need to trolley on up to this stuff that's old, but now it's no. Look what we've discovered. This is old. Sound therapy is like very old, from the beginning of time. That's why they use drums. Drums can take you to other dimensions if that's where you want to go. Okay. I think I wanted to do something else, but I forgot. But we're already at 21 minutes, and I'm not going to say this time that I talk too much. The map that I just showed you with the electrification is from spaceweather.com. I suggest you look it up. Where are you in that map in terms of your city or your state? If that map, I'm not sure that they did it for the whole world. But if they did, and you're in another country, because most of my followers are from other countries, you need to look up and see what it is that they say. But it doesn't really matter what the map said, because by law of attraction, that fire that came, more of it should have gone to the places that are heavily electrified. One of the people I admire the most was the man that wrote The Electrification, Dirty Electricity. The book he wrote was Dirty Electricity. An incredible book. He's a researcher. He's immaculate. It was not widely accepted because he gave us information we didn't like, which is that there's a direct connection between many diseases and too much electricity. We're going to see all of those diseases augment dramatically, one of which is cancer. So when people start screaming about cancer and it's due to this and to that and to the other and to the other, what you need to know is if there wasn't an excess fire, you couldn't get the cancer. It doesn't matter what they injected into you. Doesn't matter if you didn't have excess fire. You can't get cancer because cancer is a disease of excess fire. When you get down to the basics, to causal, which is what I am all about, what I try to teach, what I try to understand to make it simple. When you get down to causal, it's very simple. It is, as a matter of fact, too simple. I had a person, a very famous astrologer, and we had a client in common many years ago. And I remember one day I got very frustrated with my clients, and the astrologer called me later and said, listen, Frances, here's the problem. You make everything too simple. So then people don't accept it. It can't be that simple. She said, what you have to do is that the next time the client, I didn't do this, the next time the client calls you, what you do is that you say, oh, okay, I hear your question. I'll get back to you in 2 days. And then you go back and you fiddle, you do whatever the hell you want. And then in 2 days, you get back to them and tell them what you would have told them right then and there, because you make it too simple. It's not possible. And I had another client who was very well known in this country for his marketing genius. I was very fortunate to meet him. And he had me read 4 or 5 businesses. And he was kind of like a friend. And he said, listen, I'm going to try to help you out and see how you can market your skills. Okay. So he said, read these 4 businesses, which were his. So it was an even exchange. And then when he finished, he said, okay, listen, you got a problem. And I went, okay, what's the problem? He said, it's too simple. It's too simple. You make it too simple. He said, that's a problem. He said the same thing. They ask you a question and you say, okay, I'm going to go and investigate. And you leave. And then 3 days later, a week later, you send them in a report of what you knew the first minute that they asked you. And I said, but that's not, he said, listen. And then he told me a story. He said, I'm going to just tell you a story. There was a nuclear plant that had a leak and it was dangerous. And the experts couldn't figure out where the leak was. So he was brought in and he was an expert and he was expensive and he brought in. And then he walked around the plant or whatever. And he kicked a couple of things and he went, okay, here's where the leak is. And he sent a bill for over $300,000. And they questioned him on the bill. And they said, you were there 5 minutes. How can you send us a bill for $300,000? And he said, how much did you spend on the other experts? Did you give you the answer? I'm not charging you for time. I'm charging you for the correct answer. So it's complicated. When you get down to basics, it's very simple. If somebody has to keep hammering on something and going on and on and on in 20 different directions, they don't really have a grip on it, or they feel that you haven't really taken it in. But if they tell you and it's so simple, chances are you won't take it in, because it's supposed to be complicated, because everything that you know that's modern day and professional is very complicated. It doesn't need to be that way. That's the good news. So let's go ahead and let's do the mantra, and let's go ahead and do the Poder de los Mantristas, which is the one with the drumming, so that you can release stuff. I want you to be clean inside, and then it'll be easier for you to create peace in your life, which is a vibration, and your vibration will determine where you're going to end up. You're going to end up down here, burning up like those images of the apocalypse, because a lot of people will, or are you going to be lifted up because your vibration is lighter? So we're going to do that music, and we're going to do the peace mantra. So let's get the music first. And by the way, I was very excited when I saw that map. It's always nice to get a verification and something a little bit concrete of what I've been saying when I'm having a very hard time having people listen and believe and take it in. But not because they're going to give me money, but because it's going to make their life easier, which is what my goal is. So here's the music, and I will get the mantra up in a second. The mantras are repeated in silence, and you expel the breath through your mouth. Here we go. do you feel? And here is the golden white dress. When your vibration goes down, you see this dress sometimes in blue and black, or you see it less shiny. I used to be able to see it with a pink overlay. I can't see that anymore. I hope to get back to that. And I've always seen it gold and white, except many years ago when the controversy first started. One day I saw it in black and blue. And I thought, who changed the picture? Nobody changed the picture. I had had a rage attack and I had lowered my vibration by hanging on to all this anger. I don't remember what the situation was, but it doesn't really matter. I had more of the food for the devil inside of me, but it also lowered my vibration and made me incapable of seeing a dress that was made in gold and white. It's not a question of we're making the dress a particular color. The dress was a real dress and it was made in gold and white. I couldn't see the gold and white. I could see blue and black because of my frequency, my vibration, my hatred. So whatever that can mean to you, because I'm so tired of explaining things and sometimes feeling like I'm not really getting any place. So we will be back on Monday unless something incredibly interesting happens this weekend. But I think in my world, I think we're going to go through a birthing process that's going to be, as all birthing process, traumatic. And then we will be in the light. What does that mean? I don't really know. Shirley MacLaine wrote a book about what's coming next. I've never read it, and it's not that I'm recommending it, but perhaps she has some things to say there. In the Bible, it says that we will be entering the city of gold. And supposedly we're entering the golden age. And there we go with the gold dress. Are you going to be available for the golden age? Or are you still struggling with so many negative emotions because you have not purified the root cause of why things can affect you that much? And if they can affect you, is because at one point in your life they did. Chances are in your childhood, and they're a repeat from before other incarnations. So this is the whole reason why we spend so much time in the purification process, because that is the basis for your vibration, not your intentions. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you have not purified the way you were physically abused as a child, or sexually abused, or your mother died when you were 3 years old, and you're still, you don't know it, you're a perfectly functioning adult, but it's still affecting you, then your vibration is lower and things will be more of a struggle. And if there's gold in front of you, you may not be able to see it. We will see each other then on Monday. And look up spaceweather.com and look up the map of the electrification of the United States from the 10th to the 11th of May due to the solar flares. All about the elements and the lack of balance. And remember that that map is going to be a map for the zombie apocalypse. Literally,